Hello everyone, this is Ribat from Sydney PTE Study Centre. Welcome to this presentation introducing a brand new PTE preparation tool called PTE Cram series. This is one of the tools which helps us give you a promise of making your preparation time the shortest possible. On top of that, we have a program called a 6 weeks guaranteed program, another name for which is Advanced Mentorship Program, where you get 2 mentors assigned for you. Within these programs, we use this PTE Cram series quite extensively. So today's objective is to introduce you to that Cram series and present my point of view of how a PTE test taker should use this one to optimize their preparation time. In talking about preparation time, the idea is we want to make your PTE journey as short as we possibly can by making sure that we can guarantee your PTE score within modules. So for example, if a student is struggling to just get their reading score, but they can manage to get their listening, writing and speaking score, can we give them a very short program by which they can guarantee their score within their next attempt? Now, I call that program a 7-day reading program, or it's a master plan which you can get from us within our programs, obviously, which will give you a reading score within 7 days. Then, if you're looking for all the other scores, if you're a first-time test taker and whatnot, the program 6 weeks program, which is the Advanced Mentorship Program, will be the program for you to go. Within those programs, the main issue that everybody faces these days is to get their listening score very quickly. They spend months and months and test after test to get their listening score. We think it can be done in 2 weeks, given that you have joined the Listening Experts Mentorship Group. So we have a specific group which is only thinking about 24/7 how to get our students' listening score as quickly as possible. Okay, so we're going to go through step by step and then tell you how these programs or these subset of programs guarantees your score very quickly. Okay, so before I do that, let me quickly introduce the PTE Preparation Cram series. Now, in reality, PTE Preparation Cram series is basically a question bank of some sort. Okay, so obviously it has recent real exam questions. So the first part which makes this series a bit different than the other question bank that you see is the filtering process that we have. What does that mean? That basically means all the master file of the question bank, for example, let's say the read aloud or fill in the blanks, will be filtered through for repetition. So if we say that we have 400 fill in the blank passages, that means there are no repetition within those 400 fill in the blank passages. There are many question banks in the market or many centers that claims that I've got 600, 700, but once you go through them, you will see that there is hundreds of repetition, right? So our master files are kind of filtered through that. Also, we kind of on a monthly basis make questions obsolete. So if we see that a question is not repeating for a couple of months or 2 or 3 months, we take them out of there. So that's why our number could be lower, but the chances of you getting the questions repeated from that bank is much higher, right? Right now, I can guarantee that about 90% of your fill in the blanks, both drag and drop down, will repeat from the master file that we have. 90%. Now, actually 100% are repeating, but I'm just being a bit safe, and then I'm telling you 90%. Okay, so I'm digressing a little bit, just talking about the Cram series one more time. Okay, so the idea is it has the repeated real exam questions there. Okay, now if you go through all the topics of the question bank, it's going to take you 2 to 4 to 6 weeks to finish all of them. Okay, now this is what we call progressing through without any plan. Okay, so the reason this Cram series becomes a bit different than the other question bank is you're not going to start the journey of cramming through the question bank, which basically means learning a lot of questions before your exam because you're running out of options, you feel nervous and you feel weak in some areas. The idea is before you jump into the question bank, you must find your preparation level for each and individual item types which contributes towards your module score. For example, your read aloud contributes towards your reading score and your speaking score. So if you go to a one-on-one consultation or a mock test review or an intensive diagnostic review of read aloud, let's say per se, and your instructor or expert tells you that you are at the red zone of read aloud, it simply means that the way you have performed in front of the instructor or in that mock test or in that diagnostic test, if you do the exact same thing in your next test, you're not going to get your reading and speaking score. We all know at this point that read aloud contributes quite heavily towards your reading score. So if you think the way you perform today, you're not going to get your reading score from read aloud up to 35 marks, we're just going to simply say you're at the red zone. Once you know your preparation level, red, yellow, or green, then you have to simply go to the folder associated with that topic, and you will see there is a micro lesson video already included in that video, folder of read aloud. You need to simply click on that folder, play it out. One of the PTE instructor will go through the journey you should take within those folders. For read aloud, if you're in a yellow zone, that means you're pretty okay, but you need a bit of practice. So we will just advise you to go through the repeated real exam questions. If you are green, you don't really have to go through all the repeated exam questions. You simply go to the prediction file of the month. Again, the idea is we are cramming, so we're just going to make our cramming question as less as possible. So the idea is, if you're green, you go to just the prediction file. If you're yellow, you just do the repeated exam questions. If you are red, then you have to do a bit of extensive preparation. In each and every folder, there will be a micro lesson video which will tell you what exactly needs to be done. You might have seen some previews in our previous videos just before this one. So that's the idea. That's how the Cram series works. Another feature which is very important in the Cram series is the way we have organized the audios. Okay, audios for the listening, for example. For example, Retell lecture. If you go to our Retell lecture master folder, you will see that we have made the questions in sets. Okay, so what it basically means that it will try to mimic the exam scenario. So you get 3 to 4 Retell lecture per exam. So we have made the sets within those formalities. Each recordings with 4 audios in it, about 50 seconds break for 10 seconds preparation, 40 seconds for response, and then warning beeps to tell you, hey, you need to finish within the recommended time. So as you progress through these sets, just to kind of cram through the audios, exam audios, you're actually preparing at the same time as well. So that's how this becomes a very quick journey for you, let's say. Okay, so similarly to this one, we have organize the repeat sentence and write from dictation same way as well. So if you think about repeat sentence and write from dictation, the idea is that you have to listen to recordings and then work your working brain and try to recall as many chunks, as many phrases as you possibly can. So there is one set of audios designed that way. Then there's another set of audios designed for write from dictation, which will allow you about 30 seconds to type in your response and then come back and check your answers. Some of the write from dictation audios, if you go to the, for example, the native sounds audios, these recordings are done by native English speakers, similar to what you're going to get in your exam. So these little things, by step by step, makes this Cram series very exclusive to our question bank, and more importantly, the simple objective that we have is to make sure your preparation journey is as quick as you possibly can make, so that you don't waste too much time on it. Okay, so that's the Cram series. Hopefully you have an idea how this works. It has main topics, topic folders, and the questions has master folder, which have all the question bank you can possibly think of. For example, let's take the fill in the blanks, and then they will have its monthly update. If there is a new question in May, new question in June, we will document that one within that folder, automatically update it. Once you have access to the folder, if you are studying in June, you go to the June file and you'll get the June update. And obviously we will list some of the micro lessons as well, which you can prepare through as well on top of the master plan given to you individually. Okay, so that's Cram series. Let's now move on to the master study plan that I promised that I will discuss today, which will obviously use the Cram series. So apologize ahead of time. Obviously it's a lengthy video, but this The idea is that within this video, you will get to know today how can you get your desired score in PTE in each and every section within 6 weeks or as quickly as possible. 6 weeks being the maximum time. So let's just start with your speaking score, right? How can I get my speaking score very quickly? So now I'm talking about speaking score. Let's talk about read aloud first. How do I approach read aloud these days? The best way to approach the read aloud is to do the read aloud to secure your reading score. You do the read aloud to secure your reading score. You don't do it to secure your speaking score. As you know, read aloud contributes about 35 plus marks in your reading. Okay? Now, things to avoid. If you have heard advices which tells you that you have to speak in one breath, you have to speak very fast, you cannot stop anywhere, that's an absolute rubbish idea. Okay? If you speak that way, you can only guarantee your speaking score from there, which is coming from fluency. If you attend our classes, we go into massive details of how this is a wrong approach. You need to simply get your reading score from the read aloud, which basically means you have to speak clearly, right? You need to speak as clearly as possible without mispronunciation. So for read aloud, learn how you can speak clearly without mispronunciation and speak in phrases. Speak in phrases. I'm taking a bit of a pause here for you to note down, because phrase is what I'm going to be talking about in details today. Speak in phrases and how phrase will save your PTE accidents. Okay, if you don't speak in phrases, if you don't listen in phrases, the chances of you getting your score is much lower than if you do it in other ways. Okay, so read aloud, as I said, the idea is you speak in phrases, aiming for clarity. Never ever speak fast, never speak in one breath. Idea is the computer needs to recognize the words that you're speaking. Okay, so that's read aloud. Now if you go to read aloud folder, let's say of the Cram series, your speaking instructor will introduce the folder to you. There are question banks. There is about 250 plus read aloud passages from the exams, and then there are about 450 plus passages that we have put together in that folder for you to prepare if you're in the red zone, so that you never struggle with it. Okay, so while we're talking about that, let's go to quickly describe image. Describe image is a low priority task, so you don't really have to focus too much on this one. If you're yellow to green, just simply go to the prediction file of the month, and just quickly cram through it. If you are a bit weaker, you are a bit lost, what you have to simply do is go to the sample recordings. There's about 40 sample recordings recorded by your instructors. Just listen to them very quickly so that you have an idea of the content. Now, content. Why am I saying focus on the content? There are lots of misconceptions in the market that you don't have to worry about the describe image content, right? Absolutely terrible idea. Okay. Yes, you may have gotten your score doing those kind of silly things like talking about a beautiful picture, talking about the colors and which color is your favorite, which color you don't like. Again, I don't want to be too angry when I speak about it, but that advice doesn't really work. The chances of you getting your score in your speaking gets lower and lower when you do that. Okay? If you're using that template because you find it very easy to use, absolutely fine. Just follow this one tip from me. Whenever you use this type of template which says that I have a beautiful picture in front of me, please just add a title. Just say I have a beautiful picture in front of me which talks about the title of the image. If it's a random image, just say that talks about a random image with the couple of features. That's absolutely fine. Now the computer knows that you're talking about described image that they have given you. In turn, you will not lose your content score. Okay, if you're talking about the colors, just say what those colors represent, right? Choose a color that you can see there and what those color represents. If it is a random image, is that a car? Is that a scenery? If it is a category, is it a percentage? Is it some elements of the pie chart? Just simply say there are lots of colors, red, yellow, green. Green represents the number of gorilla distribution in northeast region of the country. something like that. And in conclusion, bring about something from the image as well. Okay, the idea is each and every sentence that you speak in your describe image must have something taken from the image. Doesn't have to be accurate, doesn't have to be academically correct, as long as you're telling the computer that you are speaking about that described image. Please guys, we've got about 10 or 20 students came to us last 2 months just missing their speaking score with high fluency score, high pronunciation score, and we were shocked. How come that happened? So we've seen a score of 19 fluency, 19 pronunciation, but he's speaking 78. Okay, we got shocked. Then we went for experiments. What we did, we didn't talk about any content in the described image. What happened in turn, we get the similar type of a score, which told us that, okay, the PTE is kind of checking on the content of the image. But it's not that difficult. All you have to simply do is pick up some features of the image and use the same template you're using and just talk about that image. Okay, so that's describe image and read aloud. Now slowly we're moving towards the territory of listening, because now this is the part of the speaking section which gives you about 50 plus in your listening score. So again, I would like to pause a little bit here. The section that I'm going to talk about right now, which is repeat sentence and retell lecture, it will contribute 50 plus out of 90. Excuse me, 50 plus out of 90 for your listening score. Repeat sentence and retell lecture will give you about 50 plus in your listening. So again, like the read aloud, the concept of repeat sentence and retell lecture is simply make sure that you're speaking to grab your content score so that you can secure your listening score. If you're struggling in this stage, if you're yellow or red, that means you have to use the Cram series very smartly. Okay, and what does that mean by using it very smartly? Our repeat sentence right from dictation master file will have about, at the time of recording this video, 96 sets of questions in tens, having 10 seconds break in between. The idea is, those recordings are also available on SoundCloud. The idea is, the very first challenge that you face in repeat sentence is your ability to process a lot of information within a short amount of time, where you use your working part of your brain. So you need to specifically train that part of your brain to get optimized for repeat sentence right from dictation type of task. So within those 10 seconds, you never ever try to get the full meaning of the sentence, right? It's not possible, right? If you are a non-native, you cannot really mimic the sentence. It's not possible for you. But remember, I said note down phrase. Note down phrase. Phrase is very important. It simply means, instead of trying to understand the full sentence and the full meaning of the sentence, you try to grab as many phrases, meaningful chunks as you can listen within those 10 seconds and try to respond confidently. Now, why respond confidently? Very simple reason. If you don't speak confidently, that means you're not articulative enough, you're not speaking clearly enough because you're hesitating, and in turn you're not going to get that content score from your repeat sentence. And remember, I told you repeat sentence retell lecture will have about 50 plus for your listening content score. Just to quickly demonstrate what does that mean. So my first set 1 question says Dr. Green's office has been moved to the 2nd floor of the building. Dr. Green's office has been moved to the 2nd floor of the building. Now if you try to grab the full meaning of the sentence, you have to kind of process a lot of information as you have grown up with the English learning, which is, this is actually a present perfect tense type of sentence. 2nd floor of the building, the preposition and article is the of the building. Dr. Green's office, then apostrophe S there. Lots of processing going on. But if you just look at the chunk, just the chunk of those sentence, whose office? Dr. Green's office. What happened to that office? Has been moved. Has been moved. Where has it been moved? To the 2nd floor. To the 2nd floor. So first meaningful chunk is to the 2nd floor. 2nd floor of the building. Of the building, right? Now within those meaningful chunks, those little prepositional errors that you make, you will not make it anymore. If you practice those 960 plus sentences, just listen, simply try to grab as many phrases as you possibly can. You will see within 3 to 5 days of doing that process, you will actually naturally will be able to get more of the sentences than you are doing, let's say today. That's how we guarantee listening score very quickly. Okay, now repeat sentence and write from dictation, we advise you to practice it the same way because the receiving language is exactly the same. The type of sentences you hear is almost the same as well. But if you go to the write from dictation folder, you will see that what we have done there is we've given you native recordings. So we have got about 4 or 5 native speakers who recorded those transcript of the exam questions, and have given you 40 seconds break in between in sets of 4s. You type your answers, you come back and you check your spellings, you check your sequence and whatnot, and you slowly but steadily progress through that one. Okay, so the idea of repeat sentence and write from dictation, again, having a bit of pause so that you can process this information. Repeat sentence and write from dictation, make sure that you have trained your brain to grab meaningful chunks, as many as you can, right? Grab meaningful chunks. Okay, get used to do that type of language as quickly as you possibly can. Now let's move on to Retell lecture. Well, how should you approach Retell lecture these days? Retell lecture is one of the most important question in the speaking section, right? Unlike repeat sentence and read aloud, where you simply focus on your content score to grab your reading or listening score, Retell lecture you have to worry about your fluency a little bit as well. So basically what happens, Retell lecture's fluency score has a bit of higher weightage towards your speaking score. So if you simply focus on your content, the chances your speaking score might drop a little bit and it sometimes become a bit tricky. So the idea is when you do Retell lecture, you have to do so much practice or enough practice so that you don't hesitate to speak those contents that you receive from the recordings. Okay. Now the idea here again is take notes of meaningful phrases. Okay. Now the template that you take from the markets, the template that you take from many centers, not going to give you your desired score in listening and speaking. Template doesn't give you anything, it just helps you. Some of the templates are more academic than the other, but the idea of template is that it must help you to maintain your fluency. Okay, now whatever template you're using is absolutely fine, but please do not speak in a way where your phrases that you have taken or you haven't taken, you've just taken just word by word. That's a 30 word, which doesn't make any sense. So let's say I'm talking about the issues involving adaptation to climate change, and then I talk about that the lecture talked about climate, then it talked about change, then it talked about adaptation, then it also talked about issues. It doesn't really make any sense. My idea is you can say that the lecture talks about, perfectly fine, but put those words together in a meaningful way. The lecture talks about adaptation to climate change. Again, if you speak very fast here, that's not the right advice. If you get those advices that you have to speak very fast, the lecture talks about this and then it talks about that, then it talks about that, then it talks about that, then it talks about that. You simply read 30 words, it's not going to work. A lot of the student comes to us with this specific problem and we fix that in 2 days. Okay, because they're actually really good at grabbing those contents. They're just approaching the test in a wrong way. All you have to do simply here is, that's it, you're going to say the lecture talks about, but you're going to say adaptation to climate change. Additionally, the lecturer points or pinpoints something else, right? So grab meaningful phrases the same way you have done for repeat sentence and write from dictation. Mind you, if you have gone through 960 sentences, 96 sets, and trained your brain to just grab phrases, meaningful chunks, your Retell lecture will automatically improve. That's the idea here. That's how the journey is so quick, because we have captured a type of skill that we would like you to master so that you can carry that skill over to other item types, making the journey quicker, because now you don't have to worry about grabbing the phrases from the Retell lecture anymore. Now you just have to apply a good strategies of taking notes and speak as clearly as you possibly can. Okay, so again, just to wrap up Retell lecture, take meaningful phrases, speak clearly, speak confidently, speak in chunks. Okay, so that's speaking. If you do this based on your preparation level, you just address the item type which is the most difficult one for you, or you are in the red or yellow zone and you treat it that topic that way. If you're green, you just simply go to the prediction file and then you cram through it before your exam. So before I move on to the next section, let's talk about the prediction file very quickly. Prediction file basically means in that month, these are the highly predicted questions. So instead of going through about 500 passages for your fill in the blanks, you go through about, let's say, 30 to 60. If you're strong at filling the blanks already, that's just going to help your time management in your exam. That's how you use the prediction file every month. Again, within this series, those prediction files are automatically updated every month with the higher predictions every month. Okay, so that's the idea. So that was your speaking, how you should approach your speaking section to make sure that you secure your reading and your listening scores available from the speaking section. Okay. Now, if you're struggling with the skills of a speaking section, you might need to use a program called Speaking Content Recognition Program, which deals with your pronunciation issue or voice projection issues impacting your content score there. If you want help with that one, just seek one-on-one advice. We can quickly assess what's going on there and give you advice on top of that. Okay, so now let's go back to my primary document, where I promised how you can get your reading score very quickly. So I'm skipping the writing section. There's a very good reason for that one, because writing section has summarized in text and essay being a lower priority task, summarized written text being the easiest task you can possibly think of. I'll give you an advice on that one when I come to that. But first I will talk to you about how can I guarantee your reading score within 7 days. Let me repeat, how can I guarantee your reading score within 7 days? If you want to get access to the master plan for reading, which will give you your reading score in 7 days, I will put the link on the description, which will tell you where to go to seek that help. That master plan will give you a lesson plan that is available online for you to go through first of all. Second of all, what you have to find out is your preparation level in reading fill in the blanks and the order paragraph, and your preparation level in read aloud. If your preparation of read aloud is yellow to red, you have to now identify what's the main reason. Obviously, the master plan will give you that one. If the main reason is a strategy, we just need to simply fix your strategy. It takes about 1 day. If your issue is skill related, which is pronunciation, voice projection, right, we need to ask you to go through another program. We will talk about what that program is. It takes about 2 to 3 days. Okay, so first is address the master plan for reading. The master plan will tell you in a specific plan tailored to your specific situation. You just simply follow that master plan that you can grab from that person. Within 7 days, you'll get your score. One of the reasons for that, one of the tools for that, is the PTE Preparation Cram series. If you go to the PTE Preparation Cram series reading folder, you will see there is fill in the blanks master file, the order paragraph master file. If you go to fill in the blanks master file, you will see there are about 450 plus passages from where you will get 90% of your repeated exam questions. On top of that, if you do Iowa, you will get those 90% questions completely memorized in your brain because you've just practiced them and seen the answers. So we have designed this folder in a way, or designed this part of the series of Cram series in a way, within 7 days, you'll get your reading score, right? No matter what your situation is. If you're very weak, you can't really improve your vocabularies, you just have to cram through the prediction file of the month, cram through the master file and the monthly update, you'll get your reading score just like that. Okay, so that's the idea of reading master plan, which will guarantee you your reading score within 7 days. Okay, so if anybody tells you that they have the master question bank from this place and this prediction to that prediction, it's okay to use that, right? But the idea is they don't necessarily tell you the other issues you have, right? For example, the diagnostic session will feed a level for you for the read aloud and highlight incorrect words. If you go through the simply fill in the blanks question banks, but don't fix your read aloud and don't fix your highlight incorrect words, you'll still miss your score, and then you'll blame the question bank on that one. We're not going to make that chance. We're not going to take that chance. We're going to assess those 3 parts: your read aloud, you fill in the blanks reorder paragraph, and you highlight incorrect words. If it is green, red, yellow, you follow the specific study plan given for that red, yellow, and green, and voila, you'll get your score in 7 days for your reading section. Okay, cool. Before I move on to listening now, let's talk about the writing section very quickly, which is summarized written text and essay. Now, essay is a low priority task these days. Hopefully, it will stay that way for a while because a lot of people hate essay or are very scared of essay. All you have to simply do for essay is go to the master bank, right? Read the questions, and identify the, again, remember, meaningful phrases from that question. That's it. What are the meaningful phrases of that question? Okay, so if you go through my essay list, which you probably can see it right now, let's find a 38. It says some people believe that governments should pay for healthcare and education, but others disagree with the opinion. From here, just think about the appropriate phrase or the meaningful chunk. Some people, not all people, some people believe that governments, right? So some people, there's a believe another keyword there, and governments. Healthcare and education is the meaningful phrase here. Not for healthcare only, healthcare and education. So first challenge is finding those meaningful phrases. Government, some people, healthcare and education. This is the main part by which this essay has been asked to you. So you keep that in mind. And then the other part is others disagree. Some people said this one, others disagree. Disagree is not the main keyword here. It's the fact that others disagree. Now you know those key phrases of this essay topic. Our template, just spread them out. Use a essay template, you spread them out throughout the essays and you're done. As simple as that. Make sure your introduction has all those phrases, your conclusion has all those phrases. Now all you have to do is just make sure you just quickly check it and your essay score is done. It's as simple as that. That's why we don't spend too much time on this one. You just simply go through all these topics, just identify the phrases and memorize some sort of a template. Make sure those phrases are spread out throughout. Now if we look at the summarized written text, very, very easy. If you take our regular classes or you have checked our YouTube classes, summarized written text these days are very easy. All you have to do is join 2 or 3 main idea sentences without any grammatical error and it's done. What's grammatical error? If you have joining 2 independent sentences, make sure there is a connector in between. Just use and. Before and, put a comma. That's it. Now the challenge is to make sure that those 2 sentences or 3 sentences are actually main idea sentences, not supporting idea, main idea. Not the first sentence and the last sentence. Again, it doesn't always work. The chances of this working is, let's say, 60 to 70%. I don't want you to take a risk with that one. You have to go with a plan which works for you 100%. So the idea is now to join those 2 or 3 sentences, those must be the main idea sentences. Just go through our master summarized written text. It will give you the sample answers at the end. All you have to check that when you did your practices, did you choose those sentences or not? Okay, if your summary has those sentences or the keywords of those sentences, no matter what template you use, if you use a template or you just copy paste it and retype it without any synonyms, you will still get your desired score required from summarized written text. So if you are a bit of yellow or let's say red on summarized written text, just go through all the sample answers and just train yourself to get the main idea sentence. We have a very good YouTube video taken by our senior reading instructors on how to really pick up on those main idea sentences. Just simply have a conceptual understanding of what main idea sentences are, and then you just simply retype them with no grammatical error. Guaranteed score from there. As simple as that one. A quick tip that I can give you right now to get the main idea sentences. A main idea sentences will always, most of the time, 90% of the time, either will have some sort of adjectives in between them, because information is not idea. Information only comes with some sort of modification to those topic that we talk about, or we'll have some sort of modality, right? For example, if we talk about a table, table is just an information. A good table is an idea. The table is good. Now I have to prove that. Or this table could be a good table, could be a modality. If you quickly scan through those ones, most of the time you will find that at least one sentence is always a main idea sentence. So if you want to find out quick tips like this one, obviously we discuss this in regular classes or on our YouTube videos if you want to go through. Just simply go through them, cram through all the exam questions if you're feeling weak on that one, and that's it. Your writing section is done. So simply what's left right now is the listening section, right? So I kept the listening section at the end because this is a bit challenging for a lot of us. So this is the listening Cram folder. If you look at the Cram folder up here, this is the listening Cram folder, which has all the topics that contributes towards your listening score. As you can see that I put the Retell lecture here, I put the repeat sentence here as well, simply because it's giving you about 50% of your listening score. So you start that way. You start with repeat sentence to get your listening score. Repeat sentence. What's the idea? Try to get as many meaningful chunks as you possibly can. Speak confidently to grab the content score. At this time of recording, the strategy is to make sure 4 to 5 sentences are perfectly correct. Other 4 to 5, you may end up missing one chunk at the end, one chunk from the beginning. That's perfectly fine. Now, a dramatic pause for the wrong advice. There are lots of people in the market telling you that make your own sentence when you don't get the full sentence. If you go to the scoring criteria or come to our classes, it clearly says if you add another word, it will make a content error. So if you add a word which was not present in that sentence, if you add a word which is not present in the sentence that you've heard, it will be a content error. And if you make a content error, how can you claim the maximum content score from that sentence? And why do you need to do that? If your objective is to get more than 50% of the words in sequence, so that you can get 2 out of 3 in your content, all you have to do, if that sentence has 3 to 4 chunks, get at least 2 to 3 meaningful chunks, and you get more than 50% in sequence with confidence, with content recognition, and you get your score from there. And that's what you're going to practice within the Cram series, within the sets of 10s. That's the idea. So don't please don't follow those advices where you can make your own sentences. That doesn't work, but it actually works only for your fluency. What are you going to do with your fluency and your speaking score? You are not joining a center to get your speaking score. You can get your speaking score just by yourself. You want to get your speaking content score from there so that you can secure your listening and reading score. Reading score in 7 days, listening score in 2 weeks, full score in 6 weeks guaranteed. Okay, so again, repeat sentence. The idea is take as many meaningful chunks as you possibly can. Make sure that you're speaking confidently, right? Dr. Green's office has been moved to the 2nd floor of the building, right? Again, I can remember that sentence pretty well because I processed that in meaningful chunk and it stayed in my short-term memory much longer than you would normally think. Okay, now Retell lecture, the challenges are mainly here your note taking. Okay, the clearer note that you take within those sets, the better your responses will be. We give a specific study cycle based study plan on top of our Retell lecture classes, which clearly works towards improving your Retell lecture. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that one a little bit. The idea is you're going to listen to 20 sets of questions. You're going to listen to 20 sets of questions and take notes in 20 different pages. Don't do Retell lecture, just simply take notes. Once you're done with taking 20 sets of Retell lecture questions, so 20 times 4, 80 recordings, you then come back to your note 1 and looking at your notes. Now you want to do a Retell lecture with whatever template, doesn't matter. Template is not going to give you a score, it's the content is going to give you a score. You look at your notes, obviously you have completely forgot about what the recording was, and now you try to do the Retell lecture. Now you can have a template which says the lecture talks about, you can have a template which says the lecture delineates, you can have a template which says the lecture significantly focuses, whatever it is. But if your note is unclear, let's say adaptation to climate change is unclear, you're not going to be able to read it very clearly, and that part is going to give you a score. Not going to work. So what you have to train yourself is how to make your notes as clear as possible. How can you make your notes as appropriate as possible? And then whatever template you use, you simply read that content like a read aloud, get your content score that easily. And if you practice this right way, you can, through this Cram series, you'll get your listening score very, very quickly. The similar concept happens too for your summarized spoken text. This is also very simple. If you go to the summarized spoken text master folder, you will see that it has sets of questions again in 3s, and there's about 8-minute pause in between for you to write your answer. You have to simply come back and check your lesson hints from there. Go through the lesson hints, which uses the lesson hints that we provide in classes, right? All you have to do is just check that if you've got the content or not. Right from dictation, go through the spelling of it, make sure you don't make any spelling error, because spelling error in your listening will create the content error and you'll miss your score. And then go through all the other mini topics as well. Fill in the blanks has about at the time of recording 17 sets of practice, having 3 recordings in each. Highlight correct summary will have about 15 sets. Highlight incorrect words will have about 15 sets as well, right? You just need to simply practice them before your exam. And then from the Cram series, you go to the from the cheat sheet, you go through the notes, the keywords that is not the audios of which is not available right now in the market. That's why we couldn't really add that in the Cram series. Okay, and then on top of that, if you read the prediction file, the chances are that your highlighting correct words, keywords, or list fill in the blanks, or the multiple choices keywords, highlight correct summers keywords will repeat from those exam memories, right? So this is how you approach listening. Make sure you secure your 50% of your score. Make sure you secure 50% of your listening score. Listening 50% must be secure from RS and Retell lecture. For that, speaking content is your priority. Next is just a strategy for summarized spoken text. Right from dictation, will repeat about 100% from this question bank. Right, we've been always getting for the last 6 months 3 to 4 questions repeating from our question banks. Simply blow through them, read the cheat sheet. Cheat sheet basically means we only have the transcript at this moment, haven't had the time to make the recordings because PS is obviously not going to give us the recordings. You just simply read them so that you don't make any spelling errors there, right? After you go through all these questions in those sets based on your preparation level, you're not going to be weak in right from dictation anymore. Simply you're going to miss it because you didn't know the spelling of that word. So if you go through the cheat sheet, you'll know the spellings. How would you miss your score? Okay, and these are the little mini things which we add together in a program which guarantees your score very quickly. Okay, so what I basically tried to do in this fairly lengthy video is to give you a master plan for your PTE score, with a hope, with an objective to make our preparation time as quick as possibly can, right? You can get your probably desired score within 3 to 5 days depending on how many yellows and greens you have. You can get your reading score in 7 days no matter what the preparation level is. You can get your whole PTE score within 6 weeks no matter what the preparation level is. What you have to use for that is maybe you have 2 mentors who is looking after your journey and giving you lessons, or the Cram series. Now, the idea is we're giving you still guarantee. What if none of this works for you, right? You're not able to memorize all the Cram series because your memory is weak. Okay, you're not able to follow my master plan because you just get lost in preparation, right? Or you're doing all of these things, still you're not getting a score. What's the option available right now? I've given you a guarantee, but haven't given you a money back guarantee. So now what do you have to do? You're not getting your money back. You probably have to go to another center. But think about it first. Another center will have parts of this. Another question bank will have parts of this. It will never be all together. Cram series, question banks, recent repeated exam questions, questions in sets, strategies, lectures, and everything. Still you're not getting it. What could be the reason? English is weak. Now if you want to now, or you have to now learn English, where would you go? An English instructor. Do they have to be native of English speaking? Not really. If that was the idea, do you reckon you can learn English from a native Australian English speaker or a native English speaker who speaks English but never learned how English language works? Just think of it in your own language. You can speak your own language, but can you teach your own language to everyone? Not necessarily. So you need an expert to teach you that language. And who are the expert of English language? Who have been trained in the thing called TESOL, right? TESOL or CELTA. All of our instructors are TESOL and CELTA qualified, which means that we are licensed to teach you English, right? We are licensed to teach you English grammar, licensed to teach you English writing. On top of that, we have Certificate 3 in Teachers as Assessment. So that means we are qualified to teach you English as well. We're not here for that because that takes a bit of time, right? That takes a bit of time. You probably haven't really joined our courses for learning general English, right? If you want to learn general English, why would you go to a PTE study center? You would go to learn from a college or a university. If you're here, that means you want to get your PTE score as quickly as possible. Within those shortcuts, if it is not possible, we have to teach you English. We will only teach you the English that is required for your PTE score, not general English, the only part that you need. For example, if you're not getting your reading score from Read Aloud, we have to teach you how to speak with correct pronunciation, with having a syllabic approach, the morpheme of the word, right? That's it. That's all we have to teach you. We don't have to teach you accurate pronunciation all the time, because accurate pronunciation inaccurate pronunciation not necessarily will take your content score. If you have seen our speaking content recognition panel video, I have demonstrated that very clearly there. Okay, so all you have to teach this mini English part, which will again fast track your learning of English for your PTE, not the general English or any English that you can learn from online, YouTube, or any general English program. The idea is you learn only a little bit to get your PTE score as quickly as possible. Okay, my apologies one more time to make this video quite lengthy. The idea was to introduce the PTE preparation Cram series, just one of the tools which guarantee your score as quickly as possible. Maximum 6 weeks, reading score in 7 days, listening score in 2 weeks. This is just a question bank designed and optimized to make your journey as quick as possible. And then I kind of try to introduce a master plan that you have to keep in mind today. The topic that I didn't really talk about basically are not the important topic that you have to worry about today. The topic that you have to worry about is read aloud, repeat sentence, written lecture, summarize in text, fill in the blanks drag and drop, fill in the blanks drop down, summarize spoken text listening, highlight incorrect words listening, fill in the blanks listening, highlight correct summary listening, and write from dictation. Just identify your preparation level of those one, use the Cram series accordingly from the folder, and get your desired score as quickly as you possibly can. Thank you for looking into this presentation. Hopefully this was helpful. Please use this one with the fullest commitment, and you'll get your score within 6 weeks guaranteed. Thank you. This is Ribat signing off from Sydney PTE Study Center.